one of your hosts. I'm Dylan. I'm Dylan. Cam, there you go.
What's good,
Go
everybody,
ahead, Cam.
man? Um, Sorry, just give me a sec. I was putting in the AirPods, but what's good, everybody, man? I'm Killer Cam. I do a little music. I play a couple of games. Used to be an athlete. I'm just a good guy. Trying to make an honest living.
Hey guys. So as you can see, so today we just this is gonna be like a new weekend podcast we're gonna be doing, right? So we're just gonna be recapping some of the hottest games, boxing fights and MMA, just shit like that, just some of the best sporting events going on, NFL, college, NBA, boxing, MMA. So we're gonna be kind of all over the place with it. But first today we're gonna start off with the Colorado game, man. Colorado played Delaware, right? So they played Delaware. Delaware was not even a FCS school up until this year. So Delaware was a smaller school than majority of teams, and they traveled up to Colorado today. Cam, did you get a chance to check it out, Cam?
Yeah, I did. I definitely got a chance to see that game. I didn't want to miss it because I felt like it was one of
What do
the
you think
games
about
that
the
were
game?
gonna give away one of the key factors about Colorado this season.
What do you think about Colorado after?
I definitely think that Colorado's defense is gonna need some work. uh Colorado's offense is very talented. They can score at almost any given time. But seeing a team like Delaware, who, like you said, finally made it into being an FCS school, throw these long touchdown passes and get all these big plays on a team like Colorado. They're in the Pac 12, right? On a team like Colorado in the Pac 12.
Colorado's in
I think they're in the Pac.
Big 12. They're in the Big 12 now, actually. The Pac 12
But
is no longer.
yeah, they're a pretty big conference school. And a team like Delaware shouldn't be
Sure.
able to do those things. And I feel like I said, I feel like their offense is really good, but I feel like their defense isn't very good because if a team like Delaware can just run up and down and throw all over you, make big plays, they're definitely going to be in trouble this season. Uh, their offense either better be like a All American offense or yeah, it's just not looking too good.
Well, well, here's the most crazy part about it, right? So we're gonna first start off by just saying the final score, right? The final score was like I think it was like 35-7. But so they started off with Caden Salter. You know Salter, right, Cam?
Yeah,
Okay, they started with him. He played, I think, one or two drives. Then they benched him and put in Juju, who was like a five-star freshman quarterback. Put him in, and then after about a drive or two, then they benched him and they put in the third string quarterback, Ryan
yeah,
Stout, who's like, he's like a white quarterback. He's unconventional. He's not really what we're used to seeing back there. And so the third string quarterback came in, and I just want to show you guys some clips of what he did. He came in the game with 30 seconds. 30 seconds in, let him down to scoring. Right. It's like the moment he came in the game, Colorado all of a sudden started moving up. Check this throw, right? Making plays, bro.
yes, sir.
As soon as he came in, it seemed everything started working better. Um, yeah, bro. So I'm interested to see what they do going forward. Cam, do you think they're gonna keep Salter as a starter, or do you think they're gonna start the guy that came in and started throwing all these touchdowns, like the third string?
Um, I'm definitely a firm believer in once the starting guy's there, he's there for a reason. Um, there's definitely no doubt about whoever starts within these next 2 to 3 games is going to be the guy for the rest of the season. I don't think that
Hmm.
Colorado's ever been a team to kind of switch in between QBs. Um, But I basically think Salter just got this in the bag. I don't think any other quarterback over there is gonna top what he can do because, a team like Delaware,
Okay.
no matter what you do, um, they're just not a very tough team. Even if you have a good game and you're not the starting guy, that's just basically showing, yeah, you can compete with the teams that's not tough. But where we're really gonna see if a quarterback's gonna be swapped out is whenever those tough teams come along. If Salter can't make it happen then I definitely think there's gonna be a swap. But until then, I think they're just gonna ride with him the whole way.
Okay. All right. Well, I actually disagree with that. I think the third string, because Salter's been kind of playing kind of iffy the past few weeks. He just seems decisions, right? And I don't know if he's an accurate quarterback on the team. And Colorado's style of offense needs an accurate quarterback, right?
Definitely.
Because they like to throw the ball, they like to stretch the ball, they like to do all that, and that's where Salter has struggled lately. Not saying he can't ever come back from that, but Colorado as a unit needs an accurate quarterback in order to succeed. Um, but but yeah, bro, that defense needs work.
Definitely.
Like 50-yard plays, 40-yard plays, like it was crazy. The amount of missed was crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Like that defense needs a lot of work. Moving right on. What did you think? Did you see the LSU and Louisiana Tech game?
Yeah, I saw a little bit out of that one. I wasn't
Um,
really impressed from Louisiana Tech for sure. Um,
yeah,
they're a better team than what they displayed out there. Even though they played LSU, I think they could have gave a tougher fight than what they did because a lot of those guys on that Louisiana Tech team are very good. Um, I definitely know the running back over there is really good. The QB can make plays. They have a really good wide receiver as well. They're a pretty good team. I just think, they kind of got rattled a little bit since it's really like their first big game of the season. Um, their first their first actual game, I believe, was USF. I think it was like a green team, green and white, but they played them, and they shine. They played really good. Um, but as far as LSU, they made some really good plays in that game. They play like how they normally played, so it was a good matchup, but it was just at the wrong time, in my opinion.
okay, so the final score for that game was 23-7. So a lot of people and a lot of Louisiana people, because we're both from Louisiana, so we got a lot of delusional people back home, right? We're not saying it's impossible,
Definitely.
but but LSU fans are kind of like Cowboy fans, right? They win one game, they think they're going to the
Hmm.
national championship. You know how it is, right? So bad Clemson team, in my opinion, last week, because Clemson was losing to like Troy today, 16-3. They're 16 to
Yeah,
3. So that Clemson offense is not very good. But my concern with LSU is actually still the secondary. I don't know how well the secondary is. I don't know how good they are. You know, I don't know in the offense. I don't think their offense is strong enough to win a national championship. You know, because putting
yeah,
up 23 points against Louisiana Tech, that's not impressive at all. You know, like that should be a blowout game. You know what I mean?
definitely,
You get 5 stars every year. You know,
definitely.
so I think LSU are out too. I don't think honestly, I don't think any team is
Yeah.
complete right now. But um, but yeah, LSU has an easy schedule. I think the toughest team LSU got to play this year is South Carolina.
Wow,
They
that's
don't play Georgia. They don't play. Hey, they don't play Georgia. They don't play Alabama. They don't play Tennessee. They don't play
definitely
Oklahoma. Nope. Florida and South Carolina are their two toughest challenges.
the key factor I feel
So,
like LSU is missing this season is the passing game. Um, I know they have very good running backs as well. One of the guys made a play
hmm
in the game where, like, he broke a few tackles, and A guy went to like hit him, he spun off, ran in like a complete circle and ran the other direction, almost took it all the way for a touchdown. It was a really good play. The running backs are talented, pretty much on par with some of the great running backs from LSU. Um, I just feel like I said, they're missing that passing factor and they're missing the wide receivers at the moment. And I feel like that's why LSU's starting to only score in like the 20s. I don't feel like LSU's really getting them high scoring games anymore because they're forced to run the ball. And now that they're forced to run the ball because they're primarily good at just running, um, they're not going to be able to provide and put up as much points on the board. So they're going to need their defense a lot more. And if LSU's defense isn't gonna hold up, they're gonna be in trouble this season. But at least they have a really easy schedule. You know, another thing that I
Yeah,
wanted to bring
their
up,
schedule is
yeah, another thing I wanted to bring up, a lot of the schools this year, like how you said, LSU is a top team. They get 5 stars. They're supposed to be able to compete and blow out teams and pretty much show teams that they have little to no chance. But I feel like plenty of the top schools at this day and age aren't really top schools anymore. Like teams like Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State. I feel like all of those teams now are really a joke because they're not as good as they used to be, and it's for a reason. You know, a lot of the older people in the older generation, they call this generation the TikTok generation because everybody cares about stuff that doesn't matter. It's not about football anymore, and people just want money. They want different things, so they're going to all of these schools. 5 stars can go to like Delaware if they wanted to now. For whatever reason, and like I said, the top schools just aren't good anymore. And I feel like LSU is just another one of those teams that just fell off, along with Ohio State and all
a,
of them.
you feel
Um,
because the
I
like
definitely
transfer portal
believe
and
that
NIL.
transfer portal and NIL plays a big part in that. But I also feel like the other half of it is whenever the normal coach from LSU left and say Brian Kelly came in. And when certain players see that their head coach leaves, they don't even want to be there anymore. So the transfer portal just makes it that much easier for them to just stab the new coach in the back and the new team and say, "Hey, I don't know this guy. He don't know me." And he's telling us that since he doesn't know us, everybody's gonna have to re-earn their spot all over again. And they don't want to compete for a spot they already earned. So they're telling themselves, I basically might as well transfer
Absolutely.
to a team that I know I've been wanting to go to and just take a risk if this coach is just going to degrade everything that I work for anyway, you know?
But you remember there was a time where Alabama would have like these 4 year, 5 year start, like 4 or 5 year players that's been there for like 4 years. They sat behind people, they waited their turn, and like they were like grown ass men. Like those players were huge.
Yeah,
Like they were like they've been in college forever. You know what I mean? And they waited their turn, and they had some amazing senior years. Like here, like playing Alabama, LSU, like big teams like that, because NIL really wasn't a thing. Now you can pay somebody all kind of money, and they'll go to your school just for the money. You know, so like it's just college football is like entirely different now, and I feel like it's wide open. Like this is one of the first seasons where I feel like it's wide open. Like anybody can go and take it if they want it.
definitely.
Um, but yeah, bro. So let's move on to like another topic. This has probably been one of the biggest topics that biggest things that's happened in the
Right.
past couple of days, right? So we got Jake Paul is going to be taking on the best boxer of
Pretty much.
recent memory, at
Yeah, our
least.
generation so
In
far.
terms of like, and yeah, yeah, like obviously Floyd Mayweather was probably a little bit before our generation, but at least
Yeah,
my generation, Javante has not only been phenomenal, but he's drawn a lot of people to love boxing again. You know what I mean?
definitely.
Because without Tank, Tank made boxing lit. I don't care what nobody say, right? You know, I didn't even really watch boxing. Tank is the reason why I fell in love with boxing. To be honest with you. But now he's gonna be fighting Jake Paul, who's like this. He's a contender now. He's won a couple fights, but at the end of the day, he's Jake Paul. He's not Shakur Stevenson. He's not none of the guys fight. You know. So, what do you think that means in terms of like the state of boxing at the moment, or just in general, even MMA and like people? You got MMA fighters calling out boxers. You got influencers trying to fight. Like, what do you think this means for the state of like combat sports in general?
Um, Pretty much like how you were saying with the other sports, like with the football and stuff like that, how it affected everything and made like the bigger teams not as good. I definitely think as the newer days come along and the newer ages, that a lot more opportunity is available and a lot more opportunity, is there to be made. Like one thing I wanted to say right before you brought this up was you remember how Ryan Williams was 17 his freshman year in college? There's another kid right now
Yeah,
who's also 17 at another school in college, and he's performing really well. Like things that have never
really.
happened before in college sports, you know, uh, whether you're in college or not, professional sports is everything is so different now. And I feel like it's all a part of the new generation. Um, I definitely think that that is something good for combat sports because it's gonna start to allow fighters to expand more. And if a fighter is not really liking, say they're in UFC or they're a boxer and they want to explore a little bit and try to get a little bit into the UFC, maybe their boxing or their UFC can kind of help them out get basically a chance at the spotlight in different sports. Uh, Kind of like how players that
You
do
see,
baseball and soccer get recruited by football coaches because they can play certain positions on the field. So I think it's just expanding everybody's chances. Um, I definitely think it's a good thing.
but then you see, uh, but then you got guys like, and all due respect, I love the guy, right? Like Tank and John Jones, who we see as damn near
Yeah,
invincible, right? Like, but it looked like they're almost ducking somebody. You know what I
definitely,
mean? You know what I'm saying?
definitely,
It like it looked like who the people want to see you fight, right? No secret, right? But it's like they all rather make the money in the bag more than the legacy, right?
definitely.
The change, and I think Floyd Mayweather had a lot to do with that change in boxing. You know what I mean? Saying, "Oh, legacy isn't nothing." Money over legacy. You know what I'm saying? I think that fighters that are fighting the top guys, like Devin Haney. I don't care how you feel about him; he's always
Yeah,
fighting the top guys. He fought Ryan Garcia, the Boogeyman, Norman Jr. coming up, a guy who's like been knocking people out, sending them to the hospital. So he's doing it. You got certain fighters, man, that are willing to take the risk,
definitely.
and I just wish that was still in the sport. I wish boxing would have less belts for one. I wish there was one belt per weight class. All that intern belt, all that even in UFC, there's too
Yeah,
many belts. You know what I
there
mean?
can only be one
Like one
number
belt,
one.
because I think it's better that way. Because when you work your way up to the number one contender, then you can contend and fight for the belt. And if you lose, you go back down. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Like there's no ducking. There's no ducking with that. So there needs to be just one belt. And I feel like everything would be a lot better. But yeah, bro, that's
Yeah.
how I'm coming. What'd you think about our old school, man, Acadiana? What'd you think? A lot of people may not know what Acadiana is, but we both went to high school there. We were like a dominant powerhouse down in southern Louisiana, right? Um, brought them a high school state championship. The golden standard, right? The golden standard for high school football.
Yeah,
Yesterday, man, yesterday was embarrassing. Second quarter came around, we're losing 40 something to nothing. Like, what's your perception on Acadiana and how it's changed over the years, and just what you think they can fix?
um, as a former player. and attending the school, I all I can say is that I'm just very disappointed. Um, the whole thing we were brought up on, right? Since we were in high school, going to Acadiana High. Acadiana's thing is toughness. In every sport, it's about toughness. Our offense is built around toughness. That's why we run the veer. Everything we do, we're disciplined. Acadiana used to be a school that never had anything. We were always the last in education. We didn't have the best equipment, didn't have the locker rooms. Our field barely got kept up. We would practice on practice fields that literally, you know, infested by mosquitoes, muddy, sandy, everything. We didn't have speed flexes. We didn't have anything. Our lockers were like wooden. It was terrible. But one thing about Acadiana was we had toughness because we had nothing. We had no other choice but to play football. That was the only thing we cared about. We didn't have all of the flashy stuff back then like how they have now. And it kind of shows you how whenever you have all of these things just handed to you, it makes you not want to work for it. And a lot of these kids now, they have everything handed to them and they don't have the work ethic. They don't have the heart. You could teach a person a lot of things, but one thing you can't teach somebody is to have heart. And the fact that we used to never have anything, it used to make us want it that much more because we would see other teams come out, we would see them have these nice helmets, these special walkouts, smoke, fireworks, everything. Their lights would go dim when they score a touchdown. We didn't have any of that. We just had our
Bro, it was
parents, we had
crazy.
them cheering for us, man, and we would play hard. But now seeing this stuff, man, I'm just so disappointed. Like they have more than me and you ever had combined. And first game of the season, that's what happens. I just think these new kids are kind of soft. And I don't really blame the kids. I really blame the coaches because it's like you can be a good coach, but one thing, man, especially with Acadiana, like I said, it's supposed to be built around toughness. You can't run a tough offense with kids that are just soft. They're not tough at all anymore.
See, you see, here's the thing, and another thing I noticed, like, is the pride, right? Like, if you look that damn fast.
He's
Second of
not
all,
he's not even picking his
you
knees
got
up
people giving up. You got people
before the
giving
play
up
is
at the
over.
end of runs. You got people giving up at the end of runs, getting like, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like it's kind of like an Alabama thing. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping it's not what it is, where all of a sudden they're so used to success and now they're big headed. You know what I mean? They think they got it right. They got the jumbotron,
Mhm.
like you said. They got pass now where you can watch the game on YouTube. They got really got everything, bro. Everything. And it's like you said, the hunger is just kind of like they even have offers being handed to them for
Yeah.
just being average players. And that's no shot at nobody with offers. I want everybody to succeed. But I don't think a lot of people understand how hard it was to get an offer. I
Yeah.
don't think they understand, right? You got the school's all-time leading rusher right here, and only had two offers.
Only had 2. And
Like
and you were the best that I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah,
all kind of SEC schools, LSU, this and that, and the third, right?
definitely.
So, like, I've seen great players come through that program and not get a single offer. Like, like Ziggy Francis, Elijah, like guys. If they were there right now,
Yeah,
it's over with. You know what I mean? It's over. So I just feel like, they just got to figure it out, man. I feel like the kid is gonna be all right. They just got to get back to the nitty gritty. They got to cut out all the extra shit. All that extra
definitely.
stuff, cut it out. Cut it out, knock it off, and just get back to work, man. It just
Yeah,
seems like there's not enough consequences for the wrong things.
yeah. Not enough toughness, man. It's not enough toughness, man. The one thing that was embedded into our mind was toughness. That was the one thing, you know. Our coaches didn't accept anything less. You know, they've even told me before if I'm injured, I better get up and walk off that field. And if I can't walk off, they would
Yeah.
tell me to roll off. It was no exception. It was no exception for anything, you know? Um, I just feel like I said, man, I feel like they don't have that hunger. I feel like they don't have that drive. Whenever you come into a school for its beauty, and you're coming to a school for the equipment, and you're coming to a school because they have these nice buildings and these nice fields, it's no longer about football anymore. The reason
Yeah.
why I fell in love with Acadiana was because of the band. Believe it or not, whenever I went, we had normal field. We didn't have anything, but that music from the band, I loved it. Every time the players would go out on the field, every time we would go to kick that ball off, man, it was a feeling I felt in my heart, and I just loved every second of it. I did, and looking
It
back on it
it
now,
it felt like it.
yeah, it was like a war. It was like a war song, man. Like, yeah, you knew it was real whenever that band kicked off for the first moment every game. It's just not
Yeah,
the same no more, man.
bro. There's moments where I'd be like, wait, see the kickoff because I used to kick return, right?
Yeah.
And they would always kick it away from me because they knew better. They would always kick it away from me or kick it in the end zone or some dumb shit. But I'd be back there, and the band, man, this is priceless, man. It's priceless moments. But I just don't think they
Yeah.
understand, bro. But that's fine. They just gonna
Yeah.
have to lose. And I think a lot of people don't understand that sometimes you have to lose in order to
Hmm.
grow. You know, you can't get, you can't always be
Yeah.
successful.
And
Not
you could
always.
definitely see it's the
So
complete opposite than what it used to be now. Because like you said, when you would be back there returner, they know this kid is amazing, man. You kick the ball to this kid. He's gonna take it all the way. We gotta avoid him. And now, that Rustin running back that scored like 4 or 5 touchdowns in that game. The kid, by the time they kicked him off the ball, he already rushed for like 2 90-yard touchdowns. And they decide to kick the ball straight to the one guy who they haven't been able to tackle all game. Instead of either kicking it out, squibbing, anything, they kicked it straight to the kid.
was untouched. Like nobody was around him. It was a straight run, wide open. What the hell is that? What are we doing?
I used to pray
Like
for
safety.
chances
What
like that,
what
though.
what angle, bro?
Yeah.
Bro, I don't care if it had it that easy. You
Even
know what I mean? It
yeah.
was never that easy. Like no, I mean, if any team made it that easy, it was sofa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or Como or some eh,
But
that's just crazy, man.
come on,
Like in this generation, everything is just so easy. It is, and it's the truth. Everything is easy. It's a lot easier than what it used to be. Um, like there's plays that I used to make, there's some plays I would break 6 to 8 tackles. I don't even get past 10 yards. I couldn't even pick up a first down because, my team just couldn't block that bad in some cases. And I would break all these tackles. You see a kid do something like that now, they're getting 20,000 views on Instagram and getting offers, left and right because he broke a
yes,
couple of tackles on one play. But
yes,
I did that almost every single play. And in the past, just overlooked. You would always get overlooked. You would never get recognized for anything you do.
bro. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if we were playing and then, like when YouTube is a thing now? Like you know how many YouTube videos I'd have made, like
Yeah,
highlight tapes and YouTube and bro, that shit. Like just the way things are now, bro, is crazy. Like it's crazy. But
everything's
we're
recorded
gonna switch
now.
gears. Switch gears from and what do you think about 2K, man? What do you think about the new 2K26,
Um,
man? A lot of people,
um,
all
yeah.
game.
I personally don't own the game, but I do know. do know of a couple of people who do own the game, and I also watch clips on, across social media from different people doing different things. And all I've ever seen so far, I haven't seen a single defensive play being made. I haven't seen anybody's shot getting blocked. All I've ever seen was just people either taking step backs or running jump up threes from half court and winning games. I'm definitely not liking what I'm seeing. A lot of the people, the majority, are liking the game because the majority aren't skillful enough to truly like a competitive game. And any true player that actually cares enough, to separate who's good and who's not good is going to care about a system that separates good and bad players. Of course, the majority is gonna like 2K26 whenever you can do stupid things or pull up in five people face and make a three, and the game doesn't penalize you for it. It just lets you make the points. Everybody's gonna love that because you don't have to work for it, you know? Kind of like what we were saying before.
bro,
Back then, you had to make sure it was so many different stipulations on everything you did just to make a shot, make a dunk, make a layup. Anything had to be timed perfectly. I feel like everything is just too easy now. It's way too easy, and it's an offensive game. You know,
bro, bro. Like, you know, it's like you wonder why you got players on 2K. Like you load up a 2K game, right? And you play with randoms. And you wonder why people don't pass the ball.
yeah,
The reason why they don't pass the ball. Was face in the game letting them make it. Like they pulling all kind of dumb shit. 26. Or they fall down, they still this is why 2K is what it is. Because the players
yeah,
because the game just gonna let them make anything. That's why the game is low key kind
yeah,
of shit. When you actually look at it, it's fun, but at the same time, it's kind of shitty because it all it's doing is making toxic ass players. You know what I mean?
yeah. And
So,
I also feel like every year for 2K, there's another problem I ran into whenever I saw something about 2K, like how you said and you mentioned the centers. I was like, I just don't understand how every single year certain players can just get taller and taller. Like in 2K28, are the centers gonna be 8 feet tall? At some point, this has got to stop. Like, it was one thing whenever centers could be 6'10, 6'11. Now they're 7 foot. Then they were 7 foot one. Now everybody is 7'4". Like, this stuff is just getting unrealistic, you know? Of course, people can make plays, people can do things like that, but um, of course, people aren't gonna pass the ball, like you said, if everybody's good. Whenever you make a realistic game where everybody depends on one another, they typically are gonna pass the ball more, act more like a team. But whenever big-headed players think that they got it made, they're never gonna pass the ball. They're always gonna be selfish. There could be a teammate down court, on the fast break, and they won't even pass the ball just because they think so much in their mind that they can pull off this crazy play and score every point. And I also feel like that's a problem with college football as well. I feel like, you know, everything is really just a fluke. Um, I just wish there would be more of a separation factor in games, you know, especially with certain stats. If a player has like 99 jump, he should never miss a hurdle on somebody. If a player has 99 juke, players should be falling for whenever that guy is juking somebody. They shouldn't just be breaking down, tackling them every time they try to juke. If a player has 99 spin, they should be doing what Judkins was doing in college football 25. But they don't give players enough
bro,
credit.
yeah. No, man, they don't. But um, We 30 minutes to the show, man. Going on 35 minutes, bro. We are probably gonna run it again tomorrow. You know, tomorrow we got a bunch of NFL games. This is like the first week we get to watch. You know, players like Travis Hunter. Um, you know, just certain guys that we've been wanting to see. Cam Ward's making his first start. You know, you got in the game that I'm personally waiting for, and I'm gonna debate people, but that game is gonna be crazy. The Bills versus the Ravens. Last year, I don't know if y'all remember, but Josh Allen defeated the Ravens last year in the playoffs. So that game is gonna be pretty amazing. I just hope Josh comes out, man, and keeps showing people why he's the better quarterback. But a lot of people don't on that one, but whatever. playoff playoff stats and playoff performance is what matters to me, you know,
Definitely.
not regular season accolades and stats. So yeah, bro, man. We're gonna be back tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow we're gonna have a bunch of new topics, man. Gonna be kind of recapping
For
everything
sure.
tomorrow. And if you guys want to hear some more content, just let us know. It won't be just sports. You know, sometimes it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that. You know, in the age of information, in the age of social media, guys, we're gonna
All
be
right,
back on
everybody,
tomorrow.
man. Uh, y'all know my little saying, man. It's your boy Killer Cam, bro. I'ma holla at y'all tomorrow, man. Check out my videos on YouTube. I play games, you know, I make music. I do a bunch of different stuff. I'm trying to expand. I've been playing a lot of different games lately. Not just sticking to the football games or basketball games. Trying to play everything, man. I'm trying to give you all an insight on every game I play, putting myself into these games to kind of help you guys find something. Look out for my next video. It's gonna be one of the new games of the month that's for free. I'm gonna do a full playthrough for that. But yeah, man, just stick with us, man. Watch the podcast. We're gonna be on tomorrow. All right.
All right, peace, y'all.